Here's a little trick for mounting one of the later gear reduction starters on any XK engine, E-types, XJ6, whatever. The original one, the starter is held on with bolts that screw into the front through the bell housing into the starter itself. The later one, like this gear reduction starter here, doesn't have threads in the flange that attaches it. This makes either you have to have just a bolt and a nut arrangement, which is actually kind of hard to reach and difficult to do, or you have to be creative. Back in the early days of the XK engine, like the XK120 and before, not exactly sure when or how, but anyway, in the early days I've seen this, Jaguar made an arrangement like this. What they did was they take two 3/8 bolts and weld or braze them onto a piece of curved metal. I just had a piece of stock, looks like quarter inch steel, bend it into the shape that I needed, and I had this arrangement here. This will slip into the back of the starter into the flange, and it holds the nuts in place, or the bolts in place, when you install it and attach your nuts on the end. Makes it far easier to do and makes replacement kind of, which is kind of a pain anyway, makes the replacement a lot easier. Space on the back of the starter between it and the block is fairly limited, so you have to be careful that you get your arc up close to the starter base. If you let it stand out too far, this band will actually hit the block rather than sliding between it and the starter. So you have to be careful and be sure that that band lays up close to the starter. Doesn't have to touch it, but it needs to be close. So now we have this. So now we have actually studs sticking out of the front of the starter, which all we have to do is stick it through the bell housing and attach our nuts in the back, and we're good to go. So here we are sticking through. See, we have room just to thread a nut on the back of this. And on the E-type, this upper one is unreachable because of the cowling, but if you have to kind of go in through the inside of the car to reach it. But if you have this type of arrangement where you don't have to hold the other end in any way, it's just as easy as the original starter was to change. So there we are. One starter.